ॐ स्थापकाय च धर्मस्य सर्वधर्मस्वरूपिणे अवतारवरिष्ठाय Ramakrishnaaya te namaha. Namaskar to all of you. Welcome to the study of Bhagavad Gita. We are now dealing in the 62nd and the 63rd verses of the second chapter. So we were about to complete the study of the 62nd verse and we were about to move to the 63rd verse. So we will recapitulate the whole thing and then move to the next verse. So we will today study the second chapter 62nd and 63rd verse together so that they will be linked. First it is the 62nd verse. Before that I just want to tell you that the live chat is enabled. If people have any questions or doubts relating to the subject, you can ask the questions, type it on the live chat. I will try to answer it at the end of the class or in the next class. Please use the live chat only to ask any questions. Thank you. Now we shall begin the proper study of Bhagavad Gita by chanting one of the meditation verses of Bhagavad Gita. Om Vasudeva Sutam Devam Tam Sachanuramarthanam Devaki Paramanandam Krishnam Vande Jagadgurum. Now we will chant the 62nd verse. Dhyayato Vishayan Pumsaha Dhyayato Vishayan Pumsaha Sangasteshu Pajayate Sangasteshu Pajayate Sangat Sanjayate Kamaha Sangat Sanjayate Kamaha Kamat Krodho Bijayate Kamat Krodho Bhijayate Krodat Bhavati Sammohaha Krodat Bhavati Sammohaha Sammohat Smriti Vibhramaha Sammohat Smriti Vibhramaha Smriti Bramshat Buddhinasho Smriti Bramshat Buddhinasho Buddhinashat Pranashyati Buddhinashat Pranashyati. So now we have chanted the both 62nd and the 63rd verse of the second chapter. So we will go to the simple meaning. In case of a person who dwells on objects, there arises attachment for them. From attachment grows hankering. From hankering springs anger. So until then we had studied in the last class, and we had also told there will be one more branch going up. What is that? When we get the sangha or the presence of the vishaya, the sense objects, when we enjoy it, if we fulfill the desires, then we get more and more desire to enjoy that thing again and again. So then we get greed. If we don't fulfill, if there is any hurdle, then we get anger. So that is how anger arises. Then that is how the greed arises. So from the thoughts on simple thought on the sense objects through the senses, it becomes hankering. We get attached to that. Attachment arises. Then from attachment, we want to attain it, enjoy it. So it becomes, we get that kamaha, intense desire. Then when that kamaha, intense desire is fulfilled, then we get more and more desire to enjoy it more and more. So it develops into greed. If we cannot fulfill our desires, if there is any obstruction, then we get anger. So we had studied up till then. So now in the 63rd verse, Lord Krishna is telling to Arjuna, from anger follows delusion. Suppose it has come to the level of becoming angry so that you didn't fulfill your desires, then anger leads to the delusion. From delusion, failure of memory. And from failure of memory, loss of understanding. From loss of understanding, that person that man or woman who has allowed that simple thought dwelling on the sense objects to develop into attachment and into intense desire, then intense desire into anger, then anger into the delusion into failure of memory, and failure of memory leads to loss of understanding. From loss of understanding, the spiritual aspirant or any person, whether it's a spiritual aspirant or anybody for that sake, the man or woman, that person perishes, gets destroyed. So, pumsaha, in the case of a person who, even when he has his external organs under control, that is very, very important. So, as we told, there are three disciplines which Lord Krishna is telling to control and reach our steady state of mind and liberation. The first discipline is the Indriya Nigraha, the controlling of the sense organs. So, we studied about that in the beginning. So, even a person, when he has his external organs under control, dhyayataha dwells on or mentally thinks again and again of Vishaya, Vishayan, objects, sound, taste, smell, touch, and all these things are the sense objects of these all the five senses. So if you go on dwelling, mentally thinking again and again upon these Vishaya, then what happens? Upajayate, there arises teshu, for them, for the objects, sangat, attachment, a particular kind of fondness in the form of superimposition of goodness. You feel, oh, if I have that with me, I'll feel good. I feel a sort of more fulfillment in me. I feel I'm complete by thinking that. You just superimpose. It is not true, but you get such thoughts. These are greatly the cause of my happiness. We get that feeling. Oh, all these, if I have all those things around me, then that is the greatly the cause of my happiness. Then from attachment, which is from sangat, from attachment, which is of the nature of an idea of there being causes of happiness, sanjayate grows kamaha, hankering, intense desire, hankering, that is kamaha, a particular kind of thirst, hunger, thirst in the form, may these be mine, I should possess them, I cannot live without them. So that is kamaha. Kamat, from hankering, when it is obstructed by something or some person, abhijayate springs. Abhijayate means springs, bursts out. Krodha, anger, of the nature of flaring up in respect of the obstacle against that hankering. So it may be a person who is obstructing, it may be a circumstance, it may be some animal, it may be some object, then that abhijayate springs, anger, krodha, flares up. Krodat, from anger, bhavati, follows, sammohaha, delusion. Why? How can delusion come out of anger? In the form of want of discrimination as to what is to be done and what is not to be done. When anger comes, it is just like a storm. Suppose you are in the midst of a forest and a storm, dust storm springs up there. Then there is a hurricane and the dust rises up. Then you cannot know what are the trees in front of you, whether it is a small plant, a big tree, it is all covered up. So you get a sort of delusion, confusion. So this anger is like a storm. So you cannot understand what to do, what is the right thing to do. You lose the power of discrimination, viveka, what is right, what is wrong. So krodhat, from anger, bhavati, follows sammohaha, delusion in the form of want of discrimination as to what is to be done and what is not. Sammohat, from delusion, smriti vibramaha. What is this smriti vibramaha? Failure of memory. So you have learned so many good things from your teachers, from the kindergarten. The teachers have taught you, the parents have taught you, the elders have taught you. So the school environment has taught you, the books have taught you. So many good things. All that will fail failure of memory. Smriti Vibhramaha, your memory will fail. Deviation, going astray from the thought of the meaning of what is taught by the scriptures. And the teacher, guru and teachers and the parents have taught so many good things, all that will be forgotten. So you lose the memory. So there is what you call smriti vibhramaha, deviation, going astray from the thought of the meaning of what is taught by the scriptures and the teacher. And smriti bhramsha, by the loss of memory, from that failure of memory follows loss, nashaha, non-generation, on account of being obstructed by the defeat of accumulation of contrary thoughts. So because of contrary thoughts will arise in your mind instead of the viveka, right thought. So that is viparita bhavana, it's called. Contrary thoughts are called viparita bhavana of understanding. Buddhi of the, you will start getting confusing yourself, and instead of thinking rightly, you'll be taking wrong decisions and wrong thoughts will be coming up. Suppose if you raise something with him, instead of giving the right solution, you'll be giving peculiar solutions. We have seen so many people behaving like that. Something will be told, there will be no connection, there will be no logic, there is no analysis. So they will be speaking illogical. So that's why, how did this happen? It happened because of smriti vibhramaha. Contrary thoughts will come. Viparita bhavana of understanding, buddhi of the modification of the mind in the form of certainty about the non-duality of the self. That you are the self is forgotten. Even when that understanding has emerged, it disappears on account of its inability to bear fruit. So you have learned so much, you have studied so much, you have got so much of wisdom, you have controlled your senses, you are thinking of God, you are meditating of God, but because of anger, it covers up everything. You forget, you are deluded, you lose all those things, you lose all the memory of all those good thoughts. That's why you should remember Ramakrishna. Once when he saw somebody getting angry, that was one of his greatest disciple, that is Latu Maharaj, Swami Adbhutananda. He got very angry with Rakal, another disciple of Sri Ramakrishna. Then Ramakrishna told, when you get angry, you become like a very sinful person. Temporarily you become very bad. You go down in the scale of evolution. Anger will make you go down in the scale of evolution. So be careful, do not get angry. So he warned our Adbhutananda, Latu Maharaj, in the beginning stages of his spiritual life. So that's why getting angry is very, very bad. That's what Ramakrishna used to tell. It will make you forget who you are, what's your real nature, what is your family, how should you behave, are they elders, should you become angry or not, everything will be lost. So that all that you have learnt will not bear fruit. It has come very near and it will not bear fruit. Buddhi nashat, from loss of understanding, pranashyati, one perishes. So what is this perishing? How can he get destroyed? We are of the nature of Brahman, Paramatma Swarupa. So how can we perish? One perishes because that means becomes unfit for all human goals. Here perishes means he becomes unfit for all human goals as a result of losing the understanding, which is the fruit of that memory. Indeed, in the world, anyone who has become unfit for the human goal is referred to as verily dead. It is just a life of vegetable. So therefore, it has been said, he perishes. Since thus even for one who has controlled the external organs, there comes great grief in the absence of control of the mind. That's why Lord Krishna introduced us to the lower aspect, that is, first is Indriya Nigraha, control of the mind, the first discipline. Second is the Nididhyasana, the second this thing, concentrating, keeping your mind nicely on the Atman, Paramatman or God within. Or if you are a devotee, then on the Lord Krishna himself is telling on me, Matparaha. Matparaha means here it can be Atman, Paramatman, Parabrahman, they are all one and the same. It may be Durga, it may be Krishna, it may be Rama, it may be Ramakrishna, it may be Ganesha. So whatever, Ishtadevata. If you don't believe in the form, God with form, then you can concentrate on the light, on the truth, on God without form, with attributes. Then if you don't believe in that also, you can concentrate, think on God without form and without attributes. So these are all the different ways. So God is telling Matparaha. Here Matparaha means he is identifying with the Parabrahman, highest Parabrahman. So with on the form of Lord Krishna, on the Leela of Lord Krishna also for the devotees. So for different evolutes, for the different people at different stages of evolution. So you can take the different meaning. It's the same thing. So then even that is not enough. The third and the highest discipline is the mind control, regulation of the mind is very high. So that's why what is happening now is even a person who has controlled his sense organs can also fall down if he doesn't do the mind regulation, the sense control. That's why Krishna is taking to the third and the highest discipline, that is mind control. So one perishes, becomes unfit for all human goals as a result of losing the understanding which is the fruit of that memory. Indeed, in the world, anyone who has become unfit for human goal is referred to as verily dead. Therefore, it has been said, he perishes. The person, the spiritual aspirant, or anybody for that sake, if he neglects the thought at the thought level, if you dwell on the sense objects, then how it leads to destruction has been so nicely taken to be brought through in that process by Lord Krishna. So nicely, this isn't this psychology? Isn't this human mind, the study of human mind? Was it not done 30,000 years back, even before Lord Krishna, even during the Upanishadic times? Was it not done? Was there not psychology in Hindu religion? Yes, it is there, but we are not aware of it. See, wonderful study of the mind has been done. The present modern day psychology, in the Western psychology, it's the study of only the diseased mind. Nowadays, they have taken the study of healthy mind too, but they have not gone to the study of the super minds, the special minds. So our Hindu psychology or Hinduism or yoga has even studied the super minds too. So you can see how nicely Krishna is taking us through the process of destruction if we don't care, if we don't take care at the thought level. So next thing is, since thus even for one who has controlled the external organs, that is the sense organs, indriyas, there comes great grief in the absence of control of the mind. Therefore, one should control the thought at the thought level, the mind with great effort. This is the idea. Even at the thought level, it will be easy for you to control. Do not allow it to come to the level of destruction or anger. After that, you cannot control it. Even at the come to the level of anger, you can go back, you can control. Wherever, whichever state you can take control. But you should be aware of it. You should take the help of the Guru. You should take the help of the Lord. Pray to the Lord. As Lord Krishna has promised again in Bhagavad Gita, Apichet Suduracharo Bhajate Mam Ananya Bhak Sadureva Samantavyam Samyak Vyavasito Hi Saha. So even if he is the worst of the sinners, if he starts worshipping me, thinking of me, meditating on me, think him to be a saint, because very in the near future, very quickly, is going to get transformed into a great saint. So from whichever level you can come back with the help of the grace of Guru and grace of the Lord Ishtadevata, you can come back and your self effort. So, but you should know, you should be very, very careful. After that, it becomes very, very difficult to come back. That's why the idea is start controlling your mind at the thought level itself. Then it will be easy for you. Do not allow it to go too forward, then it will be uncontrollable. So that's why Lord Krishna is asking us, asking Arjuna, through that asking us, even for one who has controlled the external organs, there comes a great grief in the absence of control of mind. Therefore, one should control the mind with great effort. This is the idea. Therefore, it has been aptly said, controlling all of them and becoming concentrated, one should remain seated. So having said, when the mind is controlled, however, no harm can accrue. Once when the mind is controlled, you have come up to that level, keeping your mind on the Lord, focused on your own self, and you are controlled at the thought level. If you are not allowed the mind to swerve, however, no harm can accrue. Even if there be absence of control over the external organs, he gives the answer to the question. How does he move about? Arjuna asks the question, Chita pragnasya ka bhasha, samadhistasya keshava, Chitadihi kim prabhasheta, then Chitadihi kim prabhasheta, brajeta kim. So here, how does he move about? So Krishna gives the answer to the question, how does he move about, in the next 8 verses. But before that, we have to study in depth of the second chapter. We also have to take up the anger aspect, and we had come until the aspect where the mind, the thought level, if neglected, it will come to the level of the anger. So from there, we shall continue. So we shall take up the study again, the 62nd verse and the 63rd verse in greater details and greater depth. So now we shall go to a beautiful story. If thought neglected, what is going to happen? At the thought level, why should we do the thinking? So if you hear a beautiful story told by Sri Ramakrishna, I think that will be more appealing to you and you can understand it in a better way. So what is the beautiful story told by Sri Ramakrishna? A holy man was living in a temple. Nearby was the house of a harlot, a prostitute. Noticing how the profligate ones were frequenting her house, he once called that woman and warned her against her evil ways. Then that prostitute lamented over her lot and prayed to the Lord for forgiveness. She repented, although she could not put an end to her base profession, because that was her living. The annoyed anchorite now started recording her lapses by piling a pebble every time a Liberantine visited her. So every time she committed something, started piling a stone, started dwelling on the work she was doing. Instead of thinking of God and concentrating on the good works, he started thinking, he started leaving his thought to dwell on what that prostitute was doing. So what happened? The angered anchorite now started recording her lapses by piling a pebble every time a Liberantine visited her. When the heap of pebbles grew large, the holy man summoned the prostitute to his presence and censured her, severely pointing out to her the pyramid-like enormity of her sins. The heartbroken whore, the prostitute, died that very night, appealing to the Almighty for deliverance from the debauched body. Strangely enough, that very night, that holy man also passed away, departed. The defiled remains of the former, that is the prostitute, was very badly cast away as food to vultures and jackals. It was not buried or it was not cremated in a proper way. But that of the latter, that is the holy man, was interred with the due honors. Very beautiful cremation was done. Lo, the development of this scene was quite different in the other world, in the hereafterwards. To the body, whatever the body you had, got that respect. But at the level of the soul, but at the level of the Sukshma Sharira, after giving up the body, they got a different treatment. What was that? Lo, the development of this scene was quite different. In the hereafterwards, in the other loka, in the other worlds, the soul of the prostitute was escorted to Vaikunta, to the Satyaloka, to the Loka of the Lord, while that of the anchorite, the holy man, was consigned to hell. He was taken to hell. So the excited holy man demanded an explanation for this injustice. So the reply came that inviolable justice alone prevailed in the creation of the Lord. What was that? Although living in a polluted body, her sense organs were committing the sins, but her mind was dwelling on God. Although living in a polluted body, the prostitute mind was very fixed on the divine, whereas the mind of the man in the holy body, he had a holy body, his profession was holy, but the profession of the prostitute, the whore, was bad, but her mind was fixed on holy, on the Lord. She was repenting always. It is not my choice to become that. I was forced by my family or by the other people to do that. But the holy man was had become the externally he was a holy man. But internally, in the mind level, at the thought level, what was he doing? The prostitute mind was ever fixed on divine, whereas the mind of the man in the holy body was always wandering on unholy concerns. So you have to remember, not only just allowing your mind to think, to dwell on the sense objects, but also if you start dwelling on the sense objects in your own mind too, and if you start thinking of the mistakes and the sins committed by other people too, that is also what is meant by Lord Krishna here. Dhyayato Vishayan Pumsaha means not only at the level of kaya, body, the indriya level, not only at the level of the vacha, at the word level, your utterances, your speech, it is also at the level of thought. So that is very important. What is your thought? Where are you dwelling? It is not only the allowing the mind to go to dwell on the thing, but also memory. In memory, you may just thinking of worldly things. Outside, you may be wearing a very religious dress, but inside your mind, what are you dwelling upon? If you are dwelling upon the Vishya, on the sense objects, then there too you are in trouble. So the anchorite, the holy man, his mind was wandering on the holy concerns, unholy concerns. So he got a very good cremation. The body was of holy man, while the earthly remains of the both were fitly disposed. Their souls as well were assigned their fitting regions. So Ramakrishna, after telling this story, tells that be aware of your thoughts, be aware of your thoughts, and everything will be all right with you. So Lord Krishna is telling control at the level of thought, the regulation of the mind. So control at the level of thoughts. There itself, if you are very careful, then everything will be taken care of. You'll be safe. So not allowing it to go to the level of destruction. So you can see how that anchorite, the holy man outside, he was a holy man. He was a man of God, but always thinking on the fault and mistakes of the others. So he was meditating on that. So that woman who got scolding from this holy man was meditating on God, repenting and thinking of God, though she was committing, though the indriyas were doing the wrong things, though the senses were doing the wrong things. At the sense level, she was not having the control. At the mind, thought level, she was having the control. So, can you understand why Mother Sharda Devi used to tell, my child, if you want peace of mind, do not find fault in others. Find your own faults. You have so many faults within you. Do not find fault in others if you want peace of mind. There is very, if, that word if is very necessary, very important. If you want peace of mind. If you don't want peace of mind, enjoy the hot plum, enjoy the sufferings. So if you want peace of mind, my child, do not find fault in others. So what is meant by finding fault in others? You are dwelling on the faults the sense objects, the faults of others. So you are meditating on that. So what will happen? You will also, if you are meditating on the thoughts of others, the wrong thoughts and the sins of others, then you are committing that sin. That's what Mother Sharda Devi is telling. And what are the other things which Mother Sharda Devi tell? If you find fault, then you have to lower your mind to the thought level of that person who is committing that sin. Then again, when you are telling that to others or you are criticizing that person, if you are spreading that rumor of the sinful things which was committed by the person to many people, what is happening? Spreading rumors, calumny, criticizing, biting somebody or stabbing somebody in the back. What happens? What will that happen? So then you are reliving, you are recommitting all that sins again in your mind at the thought level. So it is as good as you committing that sin. It is more worst. The person who has committed that sin did it and he may repent and God will take care of him if he repents and prays to God. But what are you doing? You are telling that to so many people, spreading calumny, finding faults. Then you are not only lowering your thought level mind from that higher state to the lower state to the sense object level, but dwelling on that in your own mind. So you are redoing that sin. You are recommitting that sin again. So destruction. So there is a saying in India that those people who are spreading calumny, finding fault in others, who are criticizing people, who are stabbing in the back, telling so many things against each other, they have the habit. What is happening to them? They are sharing the sins of the person who has committed that sin. They're sharing that sin. They're washing of that person of the sin. So the dharma, the righteousness, the Lord has made a very good vyavastha, an arrangement. Suppose there is a sinner, he has committed sin. How can he overcome? So if people start talking about that sin, if they start criticizing him, so he will be benefited very much. Why? Then they are eating the persons who are criticizing him, finding faults in him, are eating away all his sins. So by that he is purified. I will tell you a story told by the great Ramana Maharshi, a great, not only a saint, he was the avatar of Subramanya, Kartikeya. He lived in Tamil Nadu, Tiruvannamalai. Wonderful, great Gnani. So he is telling this story, a story in a story. What is that? Our Ramana Maharshi was telling the story of one great saint, another saint of Tamil Nadu, Pakannar. Now, this Pakannar had a sister who had this tendency of criticizing others, speaking ill of others, spreading rumors, telling it, spreading calumnies, speaking ill of many people. So that was her nature. So one day she started criticizing the neighbor, the Brahmana who was living. The neighbor, see that Brahmana is having illicit relationship with his own daughter. Fee on him. Then the great saint Pakannar lamented, Shantam Papam, Rama Rama Rama. What have you done? Shiva Shiva Shiva. You are the 100th person. You have completely eaten of all the sins committed by that Brahmana. Then the sister was taken aback. She told, what is this? You are a saint. What are you telling? I just totally spoke. I didn't do any sin. I didn't committing anything wrong. How is that you told that I have eaten of all the sins? Then that person told what happened. That Brahmana, who is our neighbor, because he was a realized soul, a saint, he knew what is happening. So that Brahmana was a great person, a spiritual aspirant. His great vow was every day is to bring a saint, anybody, a saint to his house, a godly person, and feed him. Without feeding that saintly person or a god man, a devotee, he would not take food. He and his widowed daughter were doing that vow, that practice for many years. So one fine day, a realized soul was brought to the house. He searched and searched and finally found the realized soul, and he brought him, served him, gave him food. And afterwards, after he was pleased, the realized soul knew everything about the past, future, and everything. So he asked him, "My dear sir, what is waiting for me in future? What loka will I get?" Then he meditated and told, "There is mountain of leeches, the blood-sucking leeches, waiting to suck your blood." And he was flabbergasted. He thought, how can that be? I'm doing so much of good work, and I'm always eating food only as an offering after offering it to the saintly people. And even in spite of doing these good things, why did I get this result? A sin. A mountain of thousands of leeches, blood-sucking leeches are waiting to suck my blood. What is that I have committed? What is the sin I committed? Then the realized soul told him, one fine day, while you were feeding, another realized soul, a great man, had come to your house to take the food. By mistake, the leech which was going on the roof, it fell into the food and it got cooked and you served it to him. So anything you offer to the saint or God, a realized soul or God, whatever you offer will come back to you thousand folds. So now thousands of leeches are waiting there because of that sin to suck your blood. Then the person told, that Brahmana told, "O Lord, I did this without my knowledge. I did not do that intentionally. So is there no way out of it?" Yes, that is the reason why the Lord has sent me to give you the solution. You can come out of it. Do not worry. What am I to do? So, okay, you behave to the external world only. You show off to the world as if you have a wrong relationship with your daughter. Show it off. That's all. 100 people criticize that, find fault with you, see the mistake, and spread rumors. Then all this sin which you have will be washed off and you will become pure and you will go to heaven. So that's all. They will eat off your sin, nothing to worry. Then this great saint after that told, "You were the 100th person, my sister. You were the 100th person to speak ill of that person, Brahmana. And you have eaten away all the sins he had committed." So many other people had criticized earlier. They have eaten all the things. You are the 100th person, so you finished off all the sins. That all that leeches were waiting for the sin he had committed, that was all erased. You have eaten off without masala, without seasoning. So be careful criticizing others. Mother Sharda Devi has told, speaking ill of others, finding fault in others. Why did she tell with such intensity that you should not do? My dear child, if you want peace of mind, do not find fault in others. If you want to find fault, you have so many faults within you, please note all those things and rectify that. Do not find fault in others. Do not speak ill of others. Do not criticize others. Do not spread rumors against others. Do not spread calumny against others. What is the result? You have to share their sins. You have not committed that sin, but by just speaking, by criticizing, what is happening scientifically? At the thought level, you are dwelling on those things which they have committed. That's why I told you the story of Sri Ramakrishna, the saint. He was a saint. He was a saintly person. He was a God man, anchorite, thinking of God, doing so much of puja, Indra Nigraha, but he was constantly dwelling on the sins committed by that prostitute. So at the thought level, very, very careful. A thought neglected will take you to hell. That's why you can see, perishes, the man perishes. Lord Krishna has told us that person will perish. So we should be very, very careful at the thought level. So we should not allow, because it is a very small thing, dwelling on the objects, what will happen? Nothing is going to happen. I will enjoy for some time, then I can take control of my old age. No. Pranashyati, he will get destroyed. A minute people seed. You know the people tree or the Ashwatha Vriksha. It's called Ashwatha Vriksha is people tree. Then there is the banyan tree, big banyan tree, the Vata Vriksha. So if you see their fruits, even smaller than the marble. The fruits will be smaller than the marble. You cut it open, it belongs to the fig family. If you cut it open, the seeds will be much, much more smaller. It will be so smaller sometimes you can't see them with your eyes. That will be so much smaller. And those seeds which are so small, the fruit will be eaten by some bird, a crow or some bird, and then it goes to this thing, the fruit is digested, but the seeds are not digested. The acids and the juices in the stomach of the birds will remove the upper layer of that seed. It becomes still smaller. So when the bird is flying or somewhere, it shits, it excretes. Or for birds, it will be both urination and excretion is the same thing. So they put out the waste material, and in that those seeds, which the upper layer is removed, it is germinating. So it goes and falls in the midst of a rock or the mountain or a big fort or in a big temple or a house, and see that is a small, very small seed. So it may fall into a crack in a wall, then it starts sprouting, grows, and rends the wall asunder. It is so soft, it is so weak, it's so small. The seed is so soft, can you imagine? It's so soft, but it sprouts in the midst of the wall, cement, or big stones, even granite stones, mountains. It can lift the stones, it can break the mountain, it can break the ground, hard ground, it can break even the buildings. So it rends the wall asunder. Similarly, an evil thought, it may be very small, you may be finding fault in others at a thought level, dwelling on the subject objects. So the evil thought germinates in the mind, develops in its own way, and wrecks the man. Ultimately, he gets destroyed. Thought can make or mar man. Thought can make a man or can destroy a man. Good thoughts mends and makes a man, while the evil thoughts ends him. It destroys him. So much of loss of discrimination paves the way for self destruction. The prolonged bitter anger will spring into that bursted anger like a volcano will create confusion, delusion. Then the delusion, because of that excitement, then you forget everything. It takes away your memory, good thoughts. Then when the thought discrimination goes away, then you will do all wrong things. You will take the wrong decision because you are committing wrong things. You get destroyed. That is the way you get destroyed. So nicely, Lord Krishna has taken us through that. So now from the level of anger, so we are even gone deeper, not only at the sense object level, but even in your own mind. If you think of the sins, if you think of your dream, if you meditate, if you dream of daydreaming of all the sense objects, even in your mind, that also will lead to destruction. That is what we can see here. So we will make a little more different way. The study can be done in a different way now. We'll take up the same subject in a different angle. So now, can you see the thought level, the smaller weaknesses can destroy us. It can liquidate us. It can lead to the person's destruction. All that a strong desire can make a person do everything. Now, Lord Krishna is taking through that angle. We also studied in a different angle that when your desires, the kama, intense desire, attachment is fulfilled, then it will lead to lobha, greed. So now we think that we will be more happy if we get more things around me, enjoyment, things of enjoyment. We will look for the next higher stage of enjoyment. We will think we will be complete, we will be happy. Never we think about the higher stage of the Atman and other things. If I have 100 sense objects, I want 1,000. If I have money, if I have 1,000, I need 1,000,000. There is no limit to the desire. So it grows into lobha. That's why you can see Why there are so many casinos? Why do people go to casinos? Gambling and other things happen because fulfilled desire leads to greed. That greed, more and more you want to get money, so it leads to gambling. Fulfilled desire leads to greed, that is gambling. That is how the gamblers get sucked into gambling. Somehow there is some psychology. Initially they will succeed. Initially they get some money in the gambling. So they become so much of that greed will come. They become greedy so that they want to get more money. So they're sucked into that gambling. So they will frequent that places to get more and more money. They will lose it. Then they are attracted. Initially they will succeed. Then they are attracted by that. Then they lose everything. They destroy their whole family life. They will not care for their wife and children, or the husband or father and mother. They lose everything. We have seen so many people losing everything. Now the greatest Pandava, the eldest Pandava, Dharmaputra, he was called the man of righteousness. Dharmaraja, he was called king of righteousness. Himself just got victimized. He had to undergo so much of difficulty in spite of his sense control, because this small weakness at the thought level, that is gambling, he had a weakness for gambling. Dharmaputra, Yudhishthira. In fact, one of the lessons, greatest lessons taught by Mahabharata, we read the Mahabharata. So in that, one of the greatest lesson we learn from Mahabharata is you should not gambling, greed at the thought level, the weakness at the thought level, gambling. So you have to give up gambling. It's very, very dangerous. At the thought level, you want more money. So is one of the biggest weakness or the worst weakness which can destroy even a dharmic person. A person like Dharmaraya, he put his wife into trouble because of that small weakness, that thought. He put Draupadi. Draupadi had to undergo so much of insult in the court, and all the other brothers were sold to Duryodhana and the Kauravas. He lost his kingdom, lost his brothers, his wife too, and she was insulted. You know all that Mahabharata. So what is the great lesson? A weakness at the thought level, that greed for money, greed for this thing, gambling, which comes from the thought level, the desire at the thought level of the sense objects. So it grew, and even a Dharmaputra, the great Yudhishthira, to succumb to that weakness, and he lost everything. So much of difficulty. They had to go for the Vanamasa, living in the forest for many, many years. Even Kunti had to suffer, the mother had to suffer, all the brothers had to suffer. And because of that, Lord Krishna also had to suffer. He had to be always guarding them everywhere. So Krishna also, because he is so devoted to his bhaktas, so he also had to undergo all those, always going behind the Pandavas. Why? One small thought, weakness of Dharmaraya, Yudhishthira. So one of the greatest lesson we learn from Mahabharata is also that don't neglect at the thought level, gambling, that greed that started from the desire. Dharmaputra himself got victimized, Yudhishthira. So the biggest weakness or the worst weakness which can destroy even a dharmic person, if you are a man of sense control too, you are a great devotee, you may be a great devotee, but if you don't control your mind at the thought level, then you can get destroyed. Even a Dharmaputra can get lost because of weakness. So Dharmaputra, that is Yudhishthira, accepts his weakness. Similarly, we have to learn from our desires. The kama can lead to lobha. If kama is not fulfilled, it will lead to anger. So those are what are the 4 stages? The first stage is Vishaya Dhyana, dwelling on the sense objects, which leads to Vishaya Sangaha, attachment to them. Then that leads to Vishaya Kamaha, that is the desire, intense desire to possess them and enjoy them. Then it leads to Krodhaha, anger. Then Krodhaha, what is going to happen? We will again, after anger, what is going to happen? We will see the verse, the next verse, that is the 63rd verse of this second chapter. Krodad bhavati sammohaha. Krodad bhavati sammohaha. Sammohat smriti vibhramaha. Sammohat smriti vibhramaha. Smritibhramshat buddhinasho. Smritibhramshat buddhinasho. Buddhinashat pranashyati. Buddhinashat pranashyati. Anger leads to clouding of judgment, which results in bewilderment of the memory. When the memory is bewildered, the intellect gets destroyed. And when the intellect is destroyed, the person, the man or woman, is ruined. Anger impairs judgment. Just as the morning mist or the clouds creates a hazy covering on the sunlight. Just it's a mist, it doesn't have an existence at all. It is unseen. Even the clouds, we thought that some thick things will be there in the form of clouds. If you go up, it is just mist, it is just vapors. So such a thing can cover up the clouds, cover up the sun for so many days. Here in Johannesburg now, because of this cloudy atmosphere, we couldn't see sun for many a week, 7 days or so. So it may be for months too. So hazy covering the sunlight. So in anger, people commit mistakes that they later regret. Anger can create delusion. So we will commit mistake because of the delusion. We cannot see properly. The light of Atman, our conscience, our knowledge, everything will be deluded. It will be covered up. So then what is the use of regret? Because the intellect gets clouded by the haze of emotion. So that haze of emotions will cloud it. People say, oh, that elderly person, he was 20 years elder to me. Why did I speak in this manner to him? Why did I lose my control? Why did I become angry? Why did I speak so rudely to him? What happened to me? What happened? What happened was that the faculty of judgment was affected by anger. What led to anger? Intense desire. How did intense desire come? Because of the attachment to sense objects. How did the attachment to sense object come? Because I was dwelling on the sense objects. So it come from there. The thought neglected burns the man, burns the person, and hence the mistake of scolding an elder was done. When the intellect is clouded, it leads to bewilderment of memory. The person then forgets what is right and what is wrong and flows along with the surge of emotions. Then they do not know what they do. The surge of emotion at that time, they are carried away by that emotion. So they do not know whether it is wrong or right. They commit so many mistakes because of that. The downward descent continues from there. And bewilderment of memory results in destruction of the intellect. And since the intellect is the internal guide, when it gets destroyed, one is ruined. In this manner, the path of the descent from divinity to impiety has been described, beginning with the contemplation on the sense objects to the destruction of the intellect. So, we have already completed our time. We will take up the same verse, that is the 63rd verse. 63rd verse of the second chapter, and we will discuss it next week, Wednesday. So, until then, we will take leave. So, we will see if there are any questions. So, I think there are no questions. There is an announcement that we are going to conduct a seminar on neuroscience. So, to overcome the stress and anxiety and fear which has come out of this pandemic. So, all of you can participate in it. It's free of cost. Our only intention is to remove your stress and make you peaceful. So, register. That is that the link is there. You can register your name or anybody. You can send that link to as many people you like. Then it is on the 10th of October. I think just 3 days or day. Then it will be online. So it is from 2 o'clock on 10th noon. It is 2 o'clock South African time. 5 it will be in India. 5 o'clock, 5:30 will be the time in India. So at different time zones you can find it out. South African time it is 2 o'clock. All of you can participate and get benefit from that seminar on neuroscience, neuroplasticity. So tomorrow we have early morning 6:30 of South African time, and Indian time it is 10 o'clock. The study of Great Master, the life of Sri Ramakrishna. Thursday, Friday, both the days we have the study. Then Saturday again evening we have the study of Bhagavad Gita. That is, we are dealing with the 23rd verse. Then on Sunday again morning, Sunday and Monday morning we have the study of Great Master. Then Sunday morning we have the children's class, study of Hinduism, and then we'll be teaching yoga, pranayama to the children. Not only that, basic Sanskrit is also taught. If children want to attend and get benefited, they can join these classes too. Then there will be evening satsangs. Then Monday evening we have the science of worship class. So we will deal with the meanings of the mantras, how to do puja, what is the science behind this, and the significance of the worship. Everything will be discussed there. Then Tuesday evening we have the Viveka Chudamani, the Crucible of Discrimination, written by great Acharya Shankaracharya. So all are welcome to this discussion. Thank you. Namaste. I'm just going to conclude by another verse on the meditation of Bhagavad Gita. Om Mukam Karoti Vachalam Pankhum Langhayate Girim Yat Kripa Tamaham Vande Paramanandamadhavam. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Harihi Om Tat Sat. Shri Ramakrishna Arpanamastu.